Tonight's guest is a competitor. He's in a bike club and he's got some great goals. He's also going to bat for Blackstone and Gasp. I'm super excited to have John Benavides on tonight as my special guest on Strength Addicts Instagram Live, brought to you courtesy of TedMedicalCenter.com, your go-to source for all the amazing therapies. Do not miss this interview, and be sure to leave some questions in the comments there. I or John will get to them. I'm sure a lot of people want to know about him, and as you guys have seen, his content is like very much on point, and he talks a lot about stuff that's going on with him, and so I'm sure that he'll be an open book, and he'll want to share with you as well. What's up, JD? What's up, Seth? What's up, Nurse Kim? Nurse Kim, before we start this, is really killing it. Nurse Kim is putting out, content, and she is gone through some stuff with hackers and just all sorts of just drama. And she's just, she's just trucking along. Omni Muscle's got a new page, Omni Muscle Official. Check it out. JD Fox, Seth Jordan, what's up? So yeah, so we're gonna bring on John. What's up?
Finally figured it out. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. That wasn't long at all. So what's going on?
I must try to get this right. Nothing, man. Just got home from work. Tried to. I got lucky. I really thought today would be like one of those 90-minute drives, and I'd have to do this while driving in the truck.
Oh my gosh!
But I made it in time.
So where do you live again?
So if you know where Houston is, we live right outside of Baytown, which is actually the eastern suburb of Houston. So it's like Baytown, closer to a town called Mont Bellevue, but a lot of people won't know that city.
Well, to quote Dumb and Dumber, I'm way off because I thought you were in Indiana. I don't know why I thought that, but you're not, and it's not even close. So,
Stephen Walker, the other another biker in the Legion, is actually in Indiana.
Very cool. Yeah, speaking of the Legion, yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, there's you, there's Stephen, right? And then there's Most Famous Mini-Me. He's also in a club. I don't know which one, but he's in a club as well. So, and there's probably more. I don't know. So I do want to talk about that, John, but before that though, like I'd like to, if possible, just ask you how you like discovered all this, because I mean, it looks like you've competed in GBO and more recently NPC, and so usually people don't just like stumble into the sport. Something, someone says something at the gym or they see a magazine, because it's not all over TV or anything. So how did you discover it?
You want the short version or the long version?
Long version.
Long version? Okay, so let's start with fitness journey in general. Like a lot of high school athlete guys, I played, I did football. I was a competitive racer when I was in high school, and I was pretty fit. I was never like shredded and ripped, but I was always in good shape, ready to go. Got married really young, and then I just quit caring. I guess I just stopped being athletic at some point, end up having my first couple of kids and really young, and just let it go. Fast forward several years, and when I was 27 finishing nursing school, I was 260 pounds, wearing a 42-inch waist, double XL shirts. I mean, it was just, I was a mess, and I just really let it go, especially during nursing school, because I was like nonstop during those years. But I got tired of it and just decided, you know what, I've had enough of this. I couldn't run around with my kid anymore. I get winded going upstairs. It was bad. And so I just got to work, joined a gym. Soon I got into nursing, joined a gym, and I spent about a year dropping 64 pounds, got myself under 200 pounds to somewhere I was happy. I cut out all the garbage eating and started eating better and got on the cardio. And then after that, I just got hooked on lifting. I mean, I'd lifted in high school, of course, but really got hooked on the bodybuilding lifestyle. I used to buy Muscular Development magazine every month, read it cover to cover. I was always reading, these guys must know what they're doing, so let me follow their example. And then when I really got more active in the gym, I started actually asking, it would take up a lot of nerve, but I'd see these big dudes and I'd say, hey man, how can I get, what can I do for my arms? What can I do to, get this size? And 99.9% of the times, and this is the crazy thing, a lot of people think bodybuilders are jerks and things, and guys like that are just meatheads and jerks, but everybody was cool with me and would say, hey, well, let me show you something, and would help me out with improving how I was lifting, and just give me a lot of tips, and I just built it from there. That was, like I said, when I was 27, and so I've always done my own I started trying to do my own nutrition based on stuff that I read. And then, of course, YouTube came along at one point. You start watching videos. And then I got competitive in obstacle course racing. I know it's a niche thing, but I got really into that at one point well, I won't say at one point, but for a few years, I ran a lot of Spartan races and I was really big into that, loved it until it got to be where it just didn't cater to guys like me anymore. I like being big, and it's not a race for big dudes. There's a whole lot of things are just shifting towards the Ninja Warrior type crowd, the CrossFitters, and it just wasn't for me anymore. And then, like I said, even in my adult years, when I would get in shape for races, or if I just wanted to get in shape for summer, I could never figure out how to get shredded. And then in my 40s, it just really wasn't working for me. I was like, how can I get rid of this stubborn body fat? And my wife had started seeing a nutritionist that she had heard about, and she already started having some really great results in a few weeks. I was like, well, let me see what this is about. I started going to see that nutritionist, and within a few weeks, fat's coming off. And it was really just changing the food and how you eat and when you eat and all that. And I'll say that being with, her name's Kim Porterfield. I'm just going to throw that shout out. She taught us a lot about food. I thought I knew a lot about food and nutrition from reading and stuff, but there was a lot of stuff I didn't know. And so she really helped me get into really good shape. And then 2020 comes along, and there was this Labrada transformation contest. They do it every year, and it's really just an online thing. You take before pictures, take after pictures, and you're supposed to be honor system about your weight and all this other stuff. And so I said, I told my nutritionist, I said, hey, can I do this? Can you help me do this? She says, yeah, well, let's put you on a competitor diet. If you really want to see how good you can look, let's try that. Okay, great. So I get in the transformation contest. She puts me on a competition diet. And while I'm doing it, I'm starting to drop fat and I'm looking better and better. And a friend of mine that I work with says, hey, why don't you just do a show with me? She was prepping for the Phil Heath that year and said, well, just come do the Phil Heath. And I was like, well, yeah, maybe so. I'd actually thought about competing several years ago, but about 2 weeks in, decided it wasn't going to work. And I realized now I had no idea what I was doing. And I'm glad it didn't happen because I would have been embarrassed. But let's see, transformation contest. So I'm doing the transformation contest. COVID comes along, everything shuts down. And of course, since this is an online competition, I just kept going with it. And I dropped, I don't remember the numbers right offhand, but I got the first six-pack in my life. I'd never had visible abs in my life. And I looked really, really good, and I loved it. And then, of course, summer came along. I was able to hold some of that shape and do okay. But then when shows started to come back around, I said, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try this again. And so we started the competitor diet again. I started to get shredded and started to look like I had a look I'd never believed was possible in my life with a guy like me, because I'd been so overweight before. There's no way I'll ever look good on stage. And she, Kim Porterfield, she helped me look amazing. Along the way, the friend that I was going to compete with, she actually didn't come back to try it again. She actually just did her first show a few weeks ago, so she finally got it going. But she referred me to my posing coach, and he started teaching me a lot about, one, of course, posing and properly displaying the physique on stage, and the best way to display your physique. A lot of people, there's a misconception. People would ask me, what do you mean a posing coach? You don't just go up there and just throw your arms up. No, there's art to it. There's a way to do it right.
Of course.
And then, of course, he's taught me some stuff about nutrition, and he helped me change some training techniques. I've never had a trainer. And he taught me some different things I could try in the gym to improve my, lagging body parts. And so October 2020, I did the Muscle Beach Classic. That was my very first show, NPC show, and I loved it. My second show was 1 week later. That was actually the one I was planning on doing, was Storm Classic. That was a GBO show. But my posing coach said, why don't you do the Muscle Beach as a warm-up so you can, just get used to being on stage, get the jitters out, which took the entire show, because I just never been on stage in the smallest pair of trunks you can imagine. But then I did that second show, Storm Classic, and I told Harvey, I said, man, I love this. people will tell you that the last few weeks of prep they're gruesome, they're grueling, but I fell in love with it and I've been hooked ever since. Um,
That's awesome.
and to go back to what you were saying a while ago about NPC, yes, I did do a couple of GBO shows. Um, Without trashing them, I'll just say that I'll never compete there again. I'll be an NPC guy now. I'll probably do some non-sanctioned shows just for fun, but um, it's yeah. I'll just say I don't recommend it.
Yeah, I will say like an odd compliment for you. What's up, Peter Shallow in the house? This guy is insane. He's like a classic physique pro at the master's level and went to the open level and just cleaned house with everybody. And then Rocco's in the house, and Rocco actually. And thank you guys for watching. This is a great turnout for 7 o'clock. Is amazing. For any times is amazing. And that's why I'm looking down. I'm like trying to like people coming in and all that fun stuff. But your skin elasticity, that's a big word like gymnasium, but your skin elasticity is fantastic because if you've always been overweight and to see your stage shots, there's no loose skin there. So like, I don't know, like what you did, but I mean, when you do those ab and thigh shots, I mean, you're shredded in the legs, shredded in the midsection, the waist is small, there's
Thank
no
you.
skin. I mean, that's awesome. If you just started doing this in your 40s, that's insane.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'll be, to be honest with you, somewhere along the line during the first prep, some guy who had also lost a lot of weight and started competing told me he says, man, put collagen in your diet. He says, start using collagen daily and L-proline. And I've been using that every day without fail since then. And I really believe that that's part of what has helped get some of that back.
Mm.
And then with each prep that I've done, I've done 4 shows over the last, it was a course of about year and a half, maybe 2 years, not quite 2 years, but it seems to be getting better each time. And then like I do have a problem spot back here in the flank. We call it the love handles, but I can get super threaded and super dry and I still have a little bit showing right there. And I feel like it hurts me with the judges. I think it like makes me look like I didn't get quite dialed in, but I think it's thick skin that's left over from back then,
Mm.
but I can only do what I can do.
And that's the thing the judges have, because I don't know what you're talking about, but the judges, they may, because that's all they do is look at physiques, but I honestly don't know what you're talking about, but that's good though, because it's not obvious, but it's there. Maybe you got judges feedback or something. I don't know. I do have a quick question though before moving forward. How long have you been married? I'm just curious.
This time around, a little over 14 years. It'll be 15 in November.
Okay, because there's kind of like a high school sweetheart thing going on there, but I wasn't sure. Maybe not high school sweetheart, but like two peas in the same pod, which is great because if you're gonna do this kind of sport, and men need it as much as women and vice versa. If the significant other is not behind you, it's just not gonna work.
No, that's. I tell you what, there are a lot of things I learned about this. Like bodybuilding in general. I mean, bodybuilding is one thing. It's one thing to live the lifestyle, but if you want to compete, I mean, I've told guys plenty of times. Some guys have asked, "What does it take to compete?" And I said, "Well, do you have a couple hours? Because I'll sit down and talk to you. Because this is not what I thought. I mean, it's nothing like what you expect it's going to be. You can watch people's posts, you can watch videos, and you can read people's life stories, but until you do it, you really don't know what you're getting into. And I wouldn't discourage people from doing it. I just would like to. I'm the type, I'll give you the time to explain to you what I go through to get ready because I think you should know. And it's something that, because I'd hate for people to get in, start spending some money for a few months. It's like, oh, wow, man, this is wreaking havoc on my relationship. I can't think at work or things like that. It can be tough. But, my very first prep was tough in the house. But once my wife realized how much I was really enjoying it and really what was going on with me and how much I enjoyed learning posing and putting the work into the posing. And then after I came off stage, the feeling that you have, it was like when she realized I wasn't just one and done. I mean, she's been behind me 120% ever since.
That's awesome.
And really helped out the last couple of preps, helping out with food prep and helping me get things ready for the next day. Because when you got to be in the gym after my schedule is I get after work, go to the gym, then you got to do your cardio, then you got to practice posing, and it can make for some late evenings. And it's tough to do that and then go home and try to cook or prep food for the next day. So it definitely helps having somebody in your corner.
For sure. And the other thing too is like, I mean, you post so much good stuff on your social media, both for Blackstone and Gasp, and of course for yourself as well. I mean, it goes without saying. But what I'm curious about too, with you, more than anything, I mean, you're in the bike club, which I'm very interested in. Everybody's interested in that, but is time management. I mean, you're a nurse. I mean, that, nowadays nurses and doctors pretty much do the same thing. Nurses are prescribed medication, and also nurses like cover a lot that doctors don't. I mean, so, I mean, it's a very, very important time consuming job. So, I mean, I'm just curious how you make it all work between, your profession, your obligations to your club, being a husband, and then doing all of this, because bodybuilding is an incredibly selfish sport. I mean, you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but like you said, it would take about 2 hours to really truly give somebody the rundown. So I guess the job would be the next question. I mean, how do you, it's a serious question because it's a very demanding job. Nurses have very demanding, like firefighters. And I mean, how do you do that? And like,
Um, I told myself I wasn't going to say a whole lot of, honestly, you have to find a, I just had to find a way to make it work, because it was, if you want to do it badly enough, you'll figure it out. Luckily my job, when I first started competing, well, I'm still in the cardiac cath lab, so it's a procedure area, so I'm not at bedside, so to speak. And when I was in the, actually still working in the procedure rooms, I had coworkers that were understanding, and like if I had to run off for 5 minutes to inhale some food, they were like, okay, cool, do that. Then I'll, they take a restroom break, whatever. But it would just find a way to make it work. And then plus there's, there were actually a couple people at work, like I said, my friend Natalie, who was going to compete and didn't until recently. She understood that. I got another friend that I work with in the lab that has competed a couple times, so he understood that. So everybody was pretty understanding, as long as it didn't interfere with my job and we made it work. It worked out. And then and yeah, you have to find the balance. It can be tough to get everything in order. And I had very active children as well. I've got my youngest is about to graduate high school, so that'll make life, I think it should make it a little bit easier for next prep, but
right.
I don't know if it's ever going to be easy, but you just find a way to make it work, and you schedule the workout, schedule the cardio in such a way that you can still make the kids events, make the school stuff, and the club. My guys, I've been in my club now for 8.5 years, and we're not the club shouldn't consume. We're set up so where the club shouldn't consume our lives. Don't get me wrong. You get out of what you put into it, and a lot of guys, the club is everything, and it is very important to me. It's very close to my heart. But we are set up so that your family, then your job, then your club, and you find a way to balance it. And my brothers have been really, really understanding, and I have had to miss things sometimes. I hate it, but sometimes it's like, I can take my food where we're going, or because that's the biggest thing is, like, if you got a club function, is getting your food to that place so you can keep the meals going. Because I'm sure you've heard it 1,000,001 times. You can't skip meals.
So John, speaking of these A&E documentaries, have they helped or hurt bike culture in your opinion?
Honestly, I don't think they did help or hurt. The MC world it's going to exist. It's going to do its own thing. The funny thing about it is that there's a lot of misconceptions about club life. And of course, the number one question when somebody finds out you're in an MC, oh, is it like Sons of Anarchy? And half the time, of course not. And half the time, yes, it's exactly like that. It's exactly like that. But no, honestly, we're not, like I said, we're not on the same level as, the people they portray in the shows. Do we associate with all those people? Maybe not. But I don't think it, I think in a way it can hurt it, because it gives people a bad, the wrong idea about the life and about, what we do and what we're about. But I think with anything, you have to kind of judge it for yourself. You get to know people like us. You get around people like us. We're people just like you. A lot of us have. I mean, you see me. There's guys in my club that do, I'm in healthcare. You got guys in construction. You got guys in hair care. You got people in all kinds of different backgrounds, and people in different clubs are of varying backgrounds. I know attorneys that are in hardcore clubs. we come from all walks of life. We just have a different different approach to things, and like I said, we're just regular people with a different kind of code.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think like with drugs too, like a lot of Hollywood has made it like to the point where everybody assumes it's someone that's a club. You know, it's like Chuck Zito. You know, he has gone on record many times saying he's never smoked, he's never drank. I mean, he was a Hell's Angel, but he, you know, he didn't do any of that. He was into boxing, and he never had anyone pressure him into it. So there's a lot of like just like you said, a lot of you know, assumptions people make. One thing though that I do know from being from Florida and being around a lot of bike clubs, like indirectly. One thing I don't like though, honestly, is a lot of drinking establishments when they put those stupid signs on the door, no colors allowed. I would never, if I was in a bike club, I would never spend my money in a club like, and you know what I mean? I would never go into a place that wouldn't allow me to like be me. You know what I mean? I just think that's very disrespectful, but.
Well, I think a lot of that comes back again. Like I said, there's a negative connotation to colors and patches, and there are going to be those places that expect that when you show up, you're going to make trouble. And actually, we can be good for business because we can bring you business, and people find out we're hanging out, and you put a message out, and a lot of guys will show up and hang out. And they're, you know, and do fights happen every now and then? They're going to happen whether you have MC guys there or not.
Right.
You know, like, I mean, how many times have been bar fights with regular people and you guys in your salmon colored shorts and such, you know, having a little scrap.
Right.
Things like that happen. And it's not just because we're wearing patches,
Right.
but, you know, of course, you know, it happens one time and that's the whole lot. We don't want you here anymore.
And I think a lot of people join clubs for the brotherhood aspect of it as well. And I think that, you know, especially at bars, you have drunks, and they don't see the distinction between family club, Christian club, 1%er club. They just see a lot of people in patches and try to pick a fight. And like you said, that can happen anywhere. And I don't care what club it is. I mean, if they're worth anything, if you attack one, then I would imagine all your brothers will have your back, and just make sure it's a fair fight kind of thing, you know.
You're absolutely right. And that goes with anything. I mean, if you're there, I'd say it like this too. If you were there with 5 of your best high school friends and somebody started messing with you, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, well, if they're cool guys and if they're honorable guys, I mean, obviously they'd have your back. But that's just I don't see how that makes it any better or worse, whatever. But to go to something you said a second ago, oh, the whole thing with fights happening. What people would be surprised to learn is that we would actually be the guys least likely to have something go on like that, because we're going to try our best to keep something like that from happening. People want to run their mouths and get dumb. Well, we're like, hey man, just chill out. We're just here to have a good time, just like you. We try to avoid that crap because it makes everybody look bad. And of course, you know, there are those situations where people you push buttons and things could happen. But to be honest, like I said, I've been in this club for 8.5 years, been out a lot of times with my guys at a lot of different places, and really seen very, very minimal things happen. And like I said, we're usually just out there to have a good time like everybody else. And we just, you know, leave us alone, we'll leave you alone. You're cool, we're cool.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, and like I said, I just think like, you know, A&E is looking for ratings, so they're going to look for anything they can do, and not to deem, but you know, it's just, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. And and earlier you had mentioned that you were a dad also, which I wasn't aware of. So on top of being, you know, a nurse, a husband, a dad, in a bike club, I mean, competing. I mean, it really, honestly, I think if, like, it just goes back to like, you know, when there's a will, there's a way, you know, but like to say that you have a lot of time would be like the understatement of it. I mean, you don't really have any extra time, I don't think, right? So.
No, and I swear to you, and my wife will tell you, if I have 5 minutes to spare, I'm gonna find something to jam into that 5 minutes.
For sure.
I don't know what it is. I like to, every now and then I like to chill, but for the most part, I like having things to do. And there's just you know, for me, the club came along at a really good time in my life, because there were, you know, like I said, when you talk about honorable people, I've been burned so many times by people that I thought were supposed to be friends and be cool and everything. And when I met these guys, we're motorcycle riders. I'm on a motorcycle, and you know, I found we found this club, and it was like, okay, well, let me give this a shot. It turns out to be, you know, the best family I've ever had.
I think it's real interesting. I mean, I think the bike culture is real interesting, and it's great that you trust and you have this great friendship with your club members, and that they understand what you're doing, because I think that's real important. Just like your wife understands, you know, your coworkers, that they should understand too, because like this is something you take really seriously, something you love.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that it's made me a better person in a lot of ways. I won't go into all the, bore anybody to death with all the details of being in a club, but it's it's helped me become a better version of myself in a lot of ways. There's a lot of times, a lot of situations where I lacked confidence, and I'm the kind of guy that when I'm in a room full of people, if I don't know you, I'm not going to go talk to you. You can't be that way if you're in an MC. You gotta be able to go up and introduce yourself to people you don't know. And I think, obviously I've gotten so much better at that. I can talk to anybody now. And I think that's a big part of, also a big part of what's helped me build the confidence to go on stage in front of a few hundred people I don't know in something that's smaller than underwear.
Right.
So it's definitely helped in a lot of ways, with my character and how I carry myself.
Definitely. So with regards to the stage, like what are some goals that you have? Like, I mean, you've already done a handful of shows. With most competitors, the goal is a pro card, but I mean, is that your goal, or do you have different goals? There's a cat in the background. Very cool.
Yeah, of course there is. Honestly, I really just enjoy bodybuilding. I enjoy competing. It's for me. It was never. I didn't get into it to try to turn pro or anything. Honestly, it was like I said. My friend said, "Hey, why don't you try it?" So I decided to try it and fell in love with it. And of course, it's with the other funny thing is all these years I've been reading magazines and see these guys, talk about, oh, well, I didn't take the best package to the stage, and I'm looking at, my favorite bodybuilder forever was Branch Warren, and he would say, oh, this part of me didn't look good on stage, and I'm looking at pictures like, what the hell are you talking about? Man, you look freaking amazing. Same with like a guy like Phil Heath will tell you, oh, this body part was lacking, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Now, being in it, people will tell me, man, your pictures look great, you look amazing. I'm like, yeah, but I got to bring some more chest. I got to get my lats out a little more. Like, what are you talking about? Look great. But I've actually loved that part of it, because now it's like, and the other thing is like like my daughter who's just finished her last high school game and club soccer game, is like you take a soccer game, you say, well, we know what we messed up here. We can come back to next week's game and do something different. And, in bodybuilding, it's like, well, no, I'll see you in 6 months. Or 3 months, however long it is you take. It's not something you can fix in a week. It takes months to make these changes. And so it can be a difficult adjustment, but at the same time, it's a fun part of it, because you can spend that time working on those weak spots and say, you know what, I'm going to show you something in 6 months you've never seen from me before. And I completely understand that now. And that's a big part of why I love doing this. And if I could get a national qualification, awesome. I'd love to go for it, but I know I'm going to be 46 this month. I know I'm not going to be walking on the Olympia stage, but yeah, there might be some routes to a pro card one day. I don't know. I don't want to say never, but that's not I do it because I love it. And if I stop loving it, I'll stop doing it.
For sure. For sure. Welcome, Storm Classic Show. Very cool. But I got to say,
That's going.
Yeah, I think it's awesome that the MC has helped you be more comfortable to sort of break the ice, so to speak, and network. I think that's great. I also think it's great that the stage has helped you to be able to, sort of pinpoint any areas of weakness that you have in your physique and be able to bring them up. There's pros that cannot do that. They're just unable to. I mean, like you had mentioned Branch Warren and Phil Heath, those are guys that can do it, but there's some guys that just honestly, they cannot. Like their own flaws don't register, and if you bring them up, they'll flip out. So it's great that you can, not only pick those flaws out, but that you can recognize them and work on them and just come back, better. And that's great at 46, at any age. That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, I've been into lifting and bodybuilding as a lifestyle since I was 27, and I guess the stage just gives me a little more purpose behind it. I mean, even if I stop competing tomorrow, like say, you know what, I've had enough, I'm still going to lift. I love being in the gym. I have to do it for sanity reasons, but it does give me another purpose. And it's definitely, like people like to say, journey. It's definitely trying, and it's grueling, but man, I love the process. I love the process. If you don't love the process, you're not going to want to do it.
For sure.
Now, what I'm wondering, I'm just to be nosy, but I'm wondering, like, what do you think about, if anything, while you're training and while you're riding?
Ooh, when training, typically I'm blasting, something heavy. It can be Slipknot, thrash metal, something just heavy, just to try to keep me in the moment. And if I do start thinking about anything, it's, like I'll concentrate on the body part I'm working, like try to really just visualize what I'm doing. Cause then I think about, is this going to look good when I pose it in October? Is this going to look better? And I start thinking about that kind of thing. Now, when I'm writing, it can be a million different things, whatever was going on that day, that morning, or it could just be watching out for the a-hole, make sure he didn't cut me off when we, gets the next chance in traffic. Uh, it honestly, man, it could be anything when I'm writing.
Do you guys have chapters like spread out or no?
We're around.
Okay. Because that's the one thing about those A&E documentaries that I find so appealing is like when the guy, and it always happens, at least, I don't know, like at least once an episode or whatever, the guy's like, he's like, just to get on your bike and you don't know where you're going. Wherever the road takes you, there's going to be a chapter somewhere where you can like crash and just hang. Like that also to me is just very appealing about like the MC lifestyle. You know what I mean? Just go wherever the road.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. Well, I can't tell you like numbers of members and such. I can tell you that we're still local, so we're not like spread around the nation. I mean, obviously the goal is to grow, but we're not a huge club. So if you go out of town and you want to hang out with a brother, hopefully he's riding with you. So, and I do have what's that?
I said, I love the big picture mentality, how you say it's still a local club, meaning that, you want to grow, but it really is about quality, not quantity. So like, whenever you grow, it'll be the right time. So.
Absolutely. And that's, we're not a rapidly growing club because we do take our time and make sure that, when a guy comes along, it's not about just throwing a patch on him so we can have numbers. I mean, we're not trying to build a military army here. We're trying to build a group of like-minded individuals who fit together the right way. And like I said, we may come from different backgrounds, but we all have a similar mindset and what we're looking for. And so we take our time and we make sure it's what they want too. Because a lot of guys think they want to do this and they hang out for a few months and then said, you know what, this is not what I wanted.
Right.
And, and so it takes time and some people are looking for a quick path and this is not, it's kind of like bodybuilding. Like you join in a club, it takes a while before you ever get a patch.
Right.
And, you have to work to earn it and then you have to work to keep it.
So with the companies that you represent, like you do a lot of stuff with Blackstone, you do a lot of stuff with Gasp. How did you find these two companies? And we'll just kind of go from there. We'll kind of wrap it up a little bit. I want to do another one of these because I don't know what the heck was going on. It might've been my connection. I don't know. But how did you get with Blackstone and Gasp?
Okay, so obviously, it's like reading the magazines all these years. I've seen ads for both companies, and Gasp clothing is something I always thought was it just was a symbol of just hardcore. You see Branch Warren and all these other just giants, wearing Gasp stuff, and I always thought it was cool. And I never, I was like, as crazy as it's gonna sound, I heard the term Imposter Syndrome recently, and I thought. I think that's probably where my head was back then. I was probably like, I don't belong wearing that kind of stuff. I don't, embody that look or that lifestyle. And then fast forward, and I'm competing, and I've been using two or three different supplement companies for the majority of my years of bodybuilding. And Blackstone was one that I was using for a little while before I actually came into the Legion, and I was using another major brand as well, kind of just like picking products from different companies. And I found out what is this ambassador program about? And I went to the one company that I had been using for a while that I felt like I was pretty loyal to. And I reached out to them about their ambassador program, and they said, oh, you know what? You don't have enough following on your page, and you don't have enough people and all this stuff, not enough engagement yet. And then the funny thing is that you go back and I look at some of the other people that are considered ambassadors, and they have even less followers than I had when I was like, what were you talking about?
Right.
So I guess it's just picking and choosing whatever, and that's fine. But then also I realized, the work that you have to put in,
mm-hmm.
and what you get in return is like you might get a discount at the end of a month if you know, like after all the work you put in and all the things you do for them, and then people got to use your code over and over again, and you might get a discount like 10% or something, whatever it was. It was kind of a funky return, but again, at the same time, for me, I was kind of like looking, can I put something in, and they help me out and I help you out. And then I saw Blackstone's program, and I knew about their products, and I've been following Blackstone for a long time. I saw PJ's ads that were in some of the magazines. That same driveway picture, him next to the car, has been around for years.
Yeah.
And it seems like they just revamped it, like brought it back. But I liked the products there, and so I tried that program, and it worked out. And then now everything I use is 100% Blackstone. I mean, I actually love the products. I'm not going to shill on this live, but I really do believe in them and love the products. And like I said, they're one of a few companies out there that I think actually put out good stuff. I'm not going to crap on the other company's products because they didn't want me. They put out great stuff. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to show brand loyalty. If you're going to help me out, I'll help you out, and
for sure,
back and forth. And then along came a gasp thing. Somebody DM'd me and said, hey, would you be interested in repping our clothes? I think I was wearing a shirt and a picture or something. And I was like, yeah, we'll see what it's about. And they are actually one of the most giving companies as far as like when you represent their brand and you put content out for them, they return a lot of cool stuff, gets thrown your way, and a lot of good opportunities. And it's also, they gave me the opportunity to work the booth at a couple of different shows. And I worked the Labrada show last year, and just working the gas booth. And I got to meet a lot of really cool people. I got to meet some pros I never thought I'd shake hands with. And just other competitors that I got to just sit there and that's where I met Darwin. I don't know if you know Darwin Uribe, but we sat there and just had a regular little conversation. And the next show I saw him at, I'm staring at him on stage like he's just this god. And I'm like, well, he's actually a really cool dude. I just talked to him for a little while at the booth. Sure. So again, it's helped me build a lot of connections and build a lot of relationships, and I really feel like that can help you in this in this world. I'm not looking for favors or anything, but having those relationships, you can always get better information, better tips and information. Somebody can tell you, hey, maybe next time try this on stage, or maybe do this differently. Relationships can count for all kinds of things.
No, for sure. And I've met so many cool people through my brief 6 months at the Legion, and this is something that I really want to continue doing. There's a lot of folks I didn't interview. You were at the top of my list. I actually thought I had interviewed you. Remember, I was convinced I had interviewed you. Yeah. So it was the craziest thing. What's up, Kim Fit-Ass Haynes? How are you? So and then Omni Muscle too. He said he met PJ the same way. And he didn't know, a lot of companies didn't like him because sexuality, which is so stupid. But a lot of companies are real ass backwards. And with you not accepting you for not having enough followers, that's so bizarre, especially if you saw other people with less followers. Maybe they were just playing favorites. I don't know. But, and again, what they were giving in return also sounds kind of shifty. I don't know. I don't know what company it is. But I just think that you're just so loyal to Blackstone, so loyal to Gasp. I mean, both companies are very, very fortunate to have you. And I wasn't aware how generous Gasp was. I know a lot of people work with them, but it's good to know. I didn't know that they were that, appreciative of, because people post them a lot, you know what I mean? So that's good to know.
Yeah, and like I said, I didn't get in it for free things. I just was hoping it would increase exposure, and like I said, build those relationships. And it just turns out both companies have been really generous with their givebacks and whatnot. And like I said, I don't get a ton of code uses on my Blackstone account, but people do use my code. People buy the products, and I've actually handed out samples and helped people hey man, try this, because like I said, they're willing to do for me, and I'm going to do that right back. I'm not just going to sit there and do bare minimum and here, hand me things. Right.
And the fact they had you work a booth, I mean, that's a pretty, that's we've got, I say I'm no longer with Blackstone, but I mean, we're great friends, and they still send me stuff. They just sent me the dust and a care package. I'm actually gonna use the dust now to go work out, but Blackstone and Gasp and companies like that, they don't just put anyone in their booth. I know you know that, but they don't put just anybody in their booths. That's only for the people that they really like and they really trust. And I'm so happy you got to meet a lot of cool people as a result of that, because I mean that's pretty cool, really cool.
Yeah, well, actually, just to be clear, it was the Gasp booth that I got to work. Honestly, I've never come across a Blackstone Labs booth since at any shows I've been. I don't know I don't see them at Texas shows,
Sure.
but no, but that's not to knock them. I'm just saying that again, I've met a lot of cool people through my connections on social media from Blackstone affiliation as well.
Yeah, maybe one day. I know that PJ is friends with Freddie Naidu, and he's got like a lot of shows over there. And there's Barissos. They got a lot of shows in Texas. I just know that after the pandemic, I think a lot of companies scaled back on booths, but I think eventually they'll be back at it, you know. And but yeah, the Texas shows are amazing. There's so many shows in Texas, and I didn't even know you were in Texas. Like I said, I thought you were in Indiana for some reason. I think I was confusing you with Steven. I'm not sure, but I think that's awesome, man. And I don't know what happened with the connection, but I'm gonna like get all these up on YouTube tonight so that people can watch the full interview. And everything got saved, thankfully. So that's really cool. Hopefully we could do another one maybe in a few months.
Right on. And I just want to tell you that, again, when I started, when I got back on, so I was on social media a long time ago, then I got off for a while. And then I got told by a couple supplement companies, hey man, you really should be, they said, I bought a product and I took pictures with this guy and his product at my first show. And he says, are you on social media? I said, no. He says, why not? You should be. I was like, okay. And then, again, getting on these affiliate programs, I will say that I really didn't know what I was doing with my content until you came along and you were like, hey man, you should try this and try this. So you gave me some good tips. And, and like I said, if my content's gotten better, it's a lot of it's because of your input and what how you help me to get better at it, I guess.
Man, I appreciate that. I really do. No, your stuff's really, really good. And I think the reason people use your code and people identify with you is that how real you are. When I got canned or walked or whatever from the Legion, we're in great terms. We're great terms. They had to do with their case and some other stuff. There was nothing personal, but you are always on my side. Like always had my back and I think that's great, man. I made about 25 real friends through the Legion. You're one of them. I know it sounds like a lot of people. It's not. The Legion's like hundreds of people. But appreciate it. And yeah, your content, Michael Litchford's content, Steven's content. It's just really, really good. Really good. So I'm not surprised that Gas wanted you to work the booth. And at the end of the day, like PJ would say, it's not about the number of followers you have. It's about the reach you have and how your followers look at you. Like if you know what I mean? Like they look at you, they like you, they see you're real, they see that you're, you go the distance for your friends. That's what makes a difference. Like people with like hundreds of thousands of followers, like they're just bots or numbers, doesn't really mean much,
Right, exactly. And if you don't mind, if I can do like one more shout out to somebody, I saw Matt Storm joined up a few minutes ago. I don't know if he's got back on after we reconnected, but I know I said some things about GBO early on, and my second show I did was Storm Classic, and it was a GBO show. And yeah, I said I'm not going to do GBO again, but Matt's no longer with GBO. So I talked with him about doing his show again this year because it's a non-sanctioned now, and it's nothing against him. He ran a great show. It's some other things that went on and some other things I noticed at my next show. And even when he was actually helping them run the show I did in Vegas. It wasn't his, but he was helping them out. And I was like, and I talked to him for a little while, and he's been super supportive. I think he's a really great guy and has a lot of character. And if you're not following Storm Classic, I think it said Storm Classic Show. I'm not sure exactly the URL, but the handle, but Matt runs a great show, a great program, and I'm hoping I can do one of his shows again in the future since he's no longer with the company. And he knows what I think, and I know he knows what was going on over there. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there in case he was back on.
For sure, Storm Classic Show. Give him a follow. It sounds like a great promoter. And again, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm not. There's a lot of different federations out there, and I'm just glad you're competing. I'm glad you found the NPC and you love the NPC. And it sounds like, Storm Classic Show is a great promoter. So hopefully you'll be able to do another show. And who knows? You very well may get a pro card again. Like you may go to Masters Nationals. You might. I think it's funny because even when you say you may not get on Olympia stage, who the hell knows? You might actually get on Olympia stage. It's just weird, man. You're doing what you love. You look great on stage, and you are picking out your weaknesses on an Instagram Live. So that means to me that you're definitely taking them seriously. You're going to work on them. You never know. Never say never,
Yeah, you know, that's true. I shouldn't say never. I just, I guess it's a mixture of realism, but I'm still, you know, I go into every show planning on winning it. I mean, not like I'm the best, but it's, if you go in there thinking, well, I may or may not get it, you're not going to.
You're not,
So I try to go in there with a winning mindset and, you know, maybe one day. And I got to tell you, you know, the shot you mentioned, the front ab and thigh, that side shot,
love that shot.
well, it's my favorite too because, like I said, when I was overweight, I mean, I was the guy who thought I would never have abs in my life, and then when I started shredding that first time, and all the serratus and everything started showing up, I was like, oh my god! I mean, dude, this is gonna sound weenie, but I almost started crying the first time I hit that shot in practice, and I was like, I never thought I could look like that, and that is my favorite. I feel like I have two signature shots, and that's one of them, and that's one of my favorite poses to do up there because there's two poses I can do that if they're kind of like looking around a couple different guys, there's two things I can do that'll bring their eyes right back to me, and that's one of them.
What's the other one?
It's my front double biceps. I have a particular way I do it. I don't do it like just stand there and just throw it. I have my Harvey Franks, my opposing coach, taught me another way to do it. It's a mixture of open slash classic style front double bicep, but it's still allowed and open. And so the way I do it really helps highlight the quads, the lats, and the biceps. I mean, you really just get a total body shot in that one. It's not just the straight up, just stand there with your feet shoulder width and, you know, pose.
Right.
It's got a classic look to it. It looks artistic, and I love that style of posing, and I'm hoping to get better and better so that like if I get a routine up there, it's going to be nice, smooth, and artistic, not just, you know, rigid and robotic.
I've got to check that out. I'm gonna look. I think a lot of people are gonna look on your wall now, see if they can find it. But I want to see you do this. I want to go to a show because when I see you do, I see the pictures of your ab and thigh shot. It makes me almost think of like when Jay Cutler would do the quad stomp. I think like you really probably get into that pose on stage. Like you probably like really like live it up, which you should. You know what I mean? Because you know, if you were overweight before, you probably never thought in a million years you'd be doing that, let alone on a stage. So that's awesome.
Well, I put so many hours into posing practice that it looks effortless, and that's the idea, right? But when you're standing next to a guy and you see him trembling and he's dripping with sweat and you know he hasn't put the work in, that makes me smile even bigger. I'm going to hit that shot even better because I'm like, I'm ready, and I can hold this as long as I have to. You know, and I really am having when you see me, I made a post about this a while back about like, there was a picture I posted a few months back where it was not a great stage picture, but I put it because my smile was really big and I wanted people to know that my smile is genuine. I was really having a good time up there. It is, I have a blast up on stage. Like I said, I just come to love it. So everything I do up there is genuine. I might screw up sometimes, but I'm still having a good time doing it.
For sure. And that's so important. That's so important because if you're not having a good time, why do it? And I think the judges, like if they could score you more for being happy, they would. Because like I've been part of enough posing clinics where the judges, like, they don't understand like why people look angry. And what they really like, and this happens at the pro level, I know you know this, but like sometimes the judges can't make up their mind. Sometimes it's a really close show. So they're going to move people an extra 2, 3, 4, 5 times. If you're not conditioned for that, like you said, you're gonna be huffing and puffing, and you're probably gonna be like drenched in sweat. You might spill over. Who knows? So I think it's great. Like, you know, you probably pose every day, I would imagine, because, you know, the more you do it, like the more comfortable you are up there. In the event it's a close show, and you don't want to fade away. So that's good.
Oh yeah, like I said, my posing coach Harvey Franks, he is a master of it, and he like when we go in there and sometimes it's just me and sometimes there's a group of us, he puts us to work, and it is 45 minutes of work. I mean, you would not think posing is that hard, but when you're done, you don't want to do anything else. But because he wants you to be ready, and he wants you to not be the guy dripping your tan off because you're conditioned and you're ready for it. And then on top of that, it's the work you put in when nobody else is looking. Are you doing your practice at home? Are you practicing at the gym when he's not around? Yeah, and I do that work because I want it to look good.
Definitely. Sippy Dog, who just joined Cyprian, fantastic poser, amazing poser, very, very good. Classic physique and bodybuilding, yeah, really good. And I like the fact too that you said that your front double bicep is still allowed, because like it sounds like something that would be very like eye-catching. Like if there's elements of classic physique and elements of bodybuilding, and it just seems like a very unique thing. So hopefully nobody copies you. But, you know, they will probably try and fail miserably at it, but it's just great though that you're, you know, I don't know, you just put this much time into it. You could tell that you love it, and it's good that you put this much time into it. It's important to you, Brian, what's up, my man? So yeah, man, I can't thank you enough for doing this in 3 parts, no less. But it might have been my connection. I don't know. But when we put it,
Well, I appreciate you doing it, man. Like I said, I didn't know we were going to talk about it. I was a little nervous going into it, but
build it.
I've enjoyed it. And man, I'd love to do it again sometime, and we can talk about other things. And
Definitely. Next
there's a
time
million.
where I have lightning fast internet, I'm thinking, I don't know. It's never happened before, but it'll never happen again. I'll do it at my office next time. But this was great, though. Thank you so much for taking the time.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. For John
Appreciate
Benavides,
the support.
StrengthAddicts.com. Thank you, brother.